Hello, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Hi, Jess. So happy to have you here. I want to start this session by telling everybody that I think Justin's keeping our audience a little bit hostage, and I can see people piling in now. So, yes, looks like his session went amazing. And I am so happy to have you here, Jess. Jess, I wrote like an introduction for Jess, but I said, you know what? I'm just going to say the fact, the kind of like the most authentic thing, which is that I've been following Jess on LinkedIn for I want to say 3 years plus, and I have seen the kind of content that you've been creating that adds so much value every day when I see you in my feed. It is just amazing. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Pragya. That's awesome. So great to hear that.
So if you guys in the audience, if you're not following Jess on LinkedIn, recommendation, please go follow because FOMO. Today, Jess is going to talk about creating next level case studies. That's something that I have myself struggled with because I'm like, I used to be on the kind of like gated content, ungated content. So I think I am so excited to hear everything about it from you, Jess. And over to you.
Amazing. Let me get my presentation up here. All right. Amazing. All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I am going to be talking about creating next level case studies today. I know this whole day and tomorrow are all about community-led GTM. And, really what I think about community-led go-to-market is that you are allowing your customers, your audience to lead you to the right content, to the right go-to-market kind of motions. And case studies is just one of those things. And so what I want to talk to you today about is, creating kind of a modern framework for case studies, because case studies are one of the hardest working bottom of funnel types of content, but the old kind of wall of text, problem solution results framework just isn't cutting it anymore for today's buyers. People want to see feedback from real customers. What does ROI look like? And they want to do it in the formats they prefer. So we're going to walk through what a modern case study looks like so that you can start to bring in more people from your community to become customers. All right. So, okay, here we go. Getting the controls down now. All right, who am I to talk? Hi, I am Jess Cook. I have about 20 years of brand and content experience in both B2C and B2B. So brands like McDonald's, Rice Krispies, Cottonelle, as well as Fastly, Marpipe, and Lasso. I'm a 2-time head of content, soon to be 3-time. I'm kind of in between roles at the moment, taking some time off before I start a new role. And during my time at Lasso, case studies became a leading touch point before booking a demo and yielded a 3x repurposing multiplier. And really what that means is our repurposed content was seen 3 times more than the original long form case study itself. We'll talk a bit about how to do that throughout this presentation. And just a little humble brag, if you've ever been to grademycasestudy.com, it's a little tool whipped up by the good people over at Laudable. And they will grade your case study for you. You drop your URL of your case study in, they will grade you on kind of like 8 different kind of points of differentiation. And Lasso has the only A+ case study ever, unbeaten and unseated. And I would love for someone to challenge us there. So, all right. So what we're going to talk about today, creating next level case studies. What does that look like? 3 big takeaways I would love for you all to be able to take with you and use in your roles. The first one is we're going to talk about why case studies that let people choose their own adventure. If you remember that amazing book series from back in the day, those types of case studies create a faster path to engagement and conversion. We're going to talk about how to create them and why that is. Why thinking about you maybe just came from Justin's talk. We're going to talk about why thinking about how you'll distribute your case studies before you create them leads to increased consumption. Believe it or not, the majority of your consumption is going to come from your repurposed content, not from that original piece. And then we're going to also talk about how this new approach is actually a lighter lift on your team and your customers. Case studies traditionally have been a ton of work. And We're in this new age, not even new age, it's been going on forever, this age of trying to do more with less. And this approach has been great for that. Okay, the old way of case studies is kind of, again, this problem, solution, results framework. It's one linear story you have to follow from top to bottom, usually presented as a big wall of text. Because it is a written piece that has been translated basically from someone's conversation with a customer, it's usually full of kind of fluff or puffery or maybe a bit of exaggeration around, what a feature is or does, right? It might just be something as simple as like choosing a radio button that automates something, and there's 3 paragraphs written about it, right? To kind of get across how it works and why it's so amazing and different. What all of this does is it makes the product, and maybe if you're lucky, the customer, the hero of the story. But for the most part, it makes the product the hero, not what we want anymore. In the new way, it's much more of a show and tell. It is a multimedia experience. We're letting people jump around. Again, choosing your own adventure. You don't have to go from top to bottom. You could read that little bit at the top. Okay, it's working? Okay. Thank you. Thank you to the audience for all of your feedback. That's a feedback loop if I ever saw one. All right, we're back. So this is very much a show and tell multimedia experience. We're bouncing around. We're only showing the most pertinent details because people are trying to really just get evidence that what your product does is something that's going to help them out. And in this scenario, now because we've done all of that, and we're really thinking of the reader, the audience first, the customer, and potentially, if you do it right, the reader, and I will show you how to do that, now become the hero. Very exciting stuff. I'm just using my microphone on my laptop, and I'm just using my speakers here. Okay, sounds like we can hear me. Thank you for bearing with me. I am not sure what's happening here. All right. People look to case studies to gather sufficient evidence that your product, your company, has solved a similar problem for a similar company. Now, the old way of doing case studies is a really hard, slow, annoying path to that sufficient evidence. They have to read from top to bottom. They probably are digging through a lot of text to try and find some interesting statistics, some things they can share with their powers that be that are going to help them make a decision. This new way, which we're going to show you, is a much faster, easier, more enjoyable path to that evidence. They can find what they need quickly. They can share it easily. And it is built with different types of consumers in mind, right? People who like to watch video, people who like to read, people who really just want to hear from the customer. So that is really, if you think about your case study, that is what it needs to do. It essentially is checking a box that, yes, there's proof here that someone else has used it and it worked. All right, we're going to jump into now 5 hallmarks of modern case studies. The first one is a title that doubles as a call to action. This is these are some examples from Lasso, from case studies from Lasso. And what you can see is this is a very, very simple kind of really, really easy little kind of twist you can do on your H1. You're still going to get the keyword you need in there. But the way that it's written is that it is a call to action. Not only does it tell someone what to expect in the story, it also tells them what they might be able to do if they use your product. It also feels like a how-to. So if I read this, I am going to understand how a Lasso customer did, how Lasso customers staffed 2 times more events with automated labor coordination. I'm going to be able to do that as well. So there's power in that title and turning it into a call to action. Mutiny is also very good at this. I have 3 examples here. Book 2 times more enterprise meetings with homepage personalization, right? That sounds like a how-to. It is sort of a how-to because you're seeing how Clearbit did it, right? So in seeing how someone else used Mutiny to do this thing, you are now learning to do it. You are putting the reader, the audience, as the hero of the story, because now they can take this information back to their team and potentially know how to do this new thing. Second hallmark of a modern case study: easy to find metrics. Oftentimes you're reading a case study and these really interesting, powerful statistics are absolutely buried. And right here is an example from Lasso. We put them right up at the very top. So you can see the title. And the first thing, which is usually what people want to know first, is like, what happened? What happened when you use this tool? And so we put right front and center, 170,000 savings in annual overhead, less than an hour to fulfill last minute staffing requests, 87% decrease in time spent processing payroll, right? Right there, I know what I can expect from using this tool if I am a similar company. And now I'm going to read on and find out how they did that. Alteryx is another example of a company doing this very, very well. So they have right up at the very top, again, this is the kind of above the fold of the website, 170 employee hours saved per month, 2 weeks to 2 days for, well, really not enough to read, month end data consolidation. And so again, just really, really up at the top there. All right, great. They use Alteryx to do this. Now I'm going to figure out how they did that, kind of what their company is all about. So put those metrics right at the top. Number 3, use your customers' actual words. So this is a snippet from another Lasso case study. We built this just like an FAQ. So essentially it's a little accordion style. We have kind of the topics of the things that we talked to this customer about. You can open each one up and read the exact words that we heard from that customer. This does a couple things for us. One, it makes it very easy to write. We didn't have to kind of retell the story in our own way. We're using our customers' words, which carry a lot more weight than ours anyway. And second, because we're using the phrases they use, we may be able to pick up a bit of extra, very, very specific SEO kind of traffic from this, because saying something a certain way, like your customer does, there's common language that your customers have. And so the odds are great that somebody else that could be a potential customer is going to use that same phrase, that kind of same way of saying that thing. And now you have it right here. You didn't try to change it in any way just to get kind of a nice, well-written story. The story is already written for you. Number 4 is customer video. This is so important now. One, just because Google loves a page with video on it nowadays, you get extra points or however their algorithm works for any page that has video. But you're humanizing your case study content by doing this. You are showing, hey, this isn't some big catfish ordeal. We actually have the customer here, and here's his face. Here's his title. Here's what he had to say about, Lasso travel and multi-day events and the crew experience, right? So you're getting that information from that person, makes it so much more credible, reliable, and relatable. Arrows also does a really, really nice job of this. You can see right up at the top here, there's a video from one of their customers. And as you can see between this and the Lasso example, they don't have to be very polished. People really expect this style of video nowadays. Someone, right, like I am right now, kind of sitting down in their home office and explaining, kind of how they've used the tool. So this is really common in B2B. Doesn't feel, you don't need to have a big production to create something like this. And number 5, the last hallmark of modern case studies, is succinct use cases. So this is where I think we get the bulk of that heavy, heavy text. And it's just not necessary, especially when users are coming in and they're just, again, trying to kind of check that box and make sure that they have sufficient evidence. So here are kind of 3 use cases for a Lasso company. Lasso customer, Dupree Security. Here's how they got back into growth mode. They stalled out because they weren't automating anything. Here's 3 things they did with Lasso. They automated open role notifications, they ran end of show reports, and they tagged and rated everyone on their roster, right? These are things that another security company is probably doing somewhere very manually. And to see that, hey, this other security company, they are able to automate this quickly and easily, great, I need to know more. One more example here, and this one gets bonus points. This is from Unbounce. And this is a little bit hard to read, but Unbounce's case study, about 2/3 of the way down, they have kind of this section where, in this particular case, they title it "How AI Optimization Can Accelerate Your Testing." So again, we talked about that that title that feels like a call to action or a how-to, and this is exactly that. So we're walking someone through 3 different use cases where this marketing agency used Unbounce to accelerate testing. So not only am I getting 3 different use cases that this marketing agency used, but they are actually telling me how now I can do this on my own. And so again, we're turning both the customer and the reader in this case into the hero. All right, just a quick little reminder of like those 5 things. This is like the screenshot. If you want to take a screenshot of this list here, title that doubles as a CTA, you want to make it feel like a how-to. Easy to find metrics, do not make them dig. Your customer's actual words, yes, verbatim. Customer video, you want proof of a real human. And succinct use cases, it's a case study, it's not a demo. Leave that really deep nitty-gritty stuff for the demo. Okay, so now we've walked through those hallmarks, but I want to talk a bit more about how does all this come together, and then how are you distributing it? And the way that you need to think about that is you have to think about, before you're creating your case study, you have to think about how you're going to distribute it. You have to understand, how is this going to get out there? Because odds are more people are going to see it in the wild than they are on the site. And that's okay. So let's think about how we're going to do that first. Justin just talked about distribution first, and I love his thinking on that. I've learned so much from him. Most of your reach and impressions will actually come from the repurposed pieces of content from your case study. So you need to think about top channels, where are we going to distribute this, and top formats, how are we going to distribute and repurpose. So here's an example from Lasso. This, one of our top channels was LinkedIn. One of our top formats was a great image and a really great hook. This example you see on the right was actually one of our best performing case study repurposed pieces of content. People could have gone to the full case study from here if they wanted. There was a link in the comments, but they did not have to. They were able to learn quite a bit just from this post and get that credibility of, Lasso can turn the freelancer experience into a competitive advantage, and you can too. One distribution channel you do not want to forget about is Slack. Slack is quickly becoming the leading mechanism for colleague-to-colleague sharing. Kevin White spoke earlier about that dark funnel. This is that dark funnel. So just some things to think about here: your unfurl image, your open graph image, whatever you call it. You want to tease the content behind the click. You want a title tag that's shorter than 60 characters because you want it to show up nice and clean and not be truncated. And you want your meta description to be short and intriguing and not be redundant to anything you've already said in that title tag. So don't forget about Slack. Very important. Last little bit here. This is a lighter lift for all involved, and we want to talk about why that is. First, it's easier on your team. So you set up that 30-minute, maybe at the most 45-minute video call. And when you're done with that, you're going to, perform all your Jedi tricks to make it a great piece of content. But it's a lot easier than the old traditional kind of long form problem solution results format. You're spending less time translating what the customer said into some sort of long form story. You're spending less time and effort than retranslating that back into some sort of repurposed content, because now it's so long, I can't really use this in LinkedIn or Twitter natively. I have to kind of reformat this a bit. And you're spending less time and effort on approvals, because when I hand it over to someone who has to approve, I can say, listen, these are the customer's words, right? There's maybe 3 paragraphs in here that you're going to have to kind of read through, make sure they're accurate. But for the most part, this is everything the customer said pulled directly from either video or the transcript. It is also easier on your customers because, again, you've just got that 30 or 45-minute video call. They are spending less time and effort wading through your text to ensure accuracy, that you didn't misunderstand something they said and interpret it in a way that's now been written and is now unclear because you're using their words. And they need fewer approvals too. If they got the all clear to come and have this conversation with you and do a case study with you, they probably have much more clearance to just say, yep, these are my words, let's do it. They might have to pass it to one more person just to make sure that, like, hey, is everything I say here like okay to be out in the open? But it makes the approval process much faster. In fact, I have gotten approvals on case studies like this in a day, which is like unheard of in traditional case study land. That is really it. You can all hit me up. This is me right now. Not a lot going on at the moment, Taylor Swift, because again, I'm in between roles. So hit me up. I'm on LinkedIn. I talk about case studies a lot, talk about a lot of content things. I also have a podcast that's Marketing Baby. It's on all of the podcast platforms, wherever you like to get your podcasts. And I would love, we have 7 minutes to answer any questions you might have.
Hello. We had a lot of fun in the chat.
Awesome.
So I actually have a lot of questions for you, so I'm going to bring them right to you so that we can try to answer as many as we can.
Okay, let's do it. Let's go.
So I will start with, I'm just going to pick them at random. How do you distribute case studies and engage with the customer so that they can actually help you promote them?
So good. A lot of ways. So I think of it very much like when I have a podcast guest. So when I have a podcast guest, I want to make them look very, very smart. I want to hand them clips. I want to hand them, some quote images, things like that, so they can go out and promote it themselves. You can think about case studies just like that. Make your customers look very smart. Clip things that make them sound like, yes, they totally know what they're doing. They're forward thinking because they're using our tool, right? Give them those kind of quote banners. And make sure that you're tagging them, in your posts as well. So that is one way. Another way we've done it is actually have them, come on the podcast. At Lasso, we had a podcast. Another great way to do this is kind of do a joint webinar. So come together and, talk through a really common problem that customer had that they were able to solve with your tool. But, you obviously don't want to just talk about the tool the whole time. So like, what are some other common problems that customer has that they can help other potential customers solve? So adding that value on top.
Amazing. What kind of work do you do ahead of time with the customer to ensure that there is fast and smooth publishing process?
Love that question. So much of the case study process is done up front. So one of my favorite things to do is sit down actually with the customer success team first, get the lay of the land. What successes have they had lately? This is before you're even on the call with the customer, because you want as much info from your side as possible. So you aren't wasting time asking questions to the customer that you could have gotten answers to from your customer success team. So sit down, talk to your customer success team, figure out like how long have they been a customer? What are they doing? What products are they using? What do they like about it? What challenges have they had, right? Really get all of that groundwork done first, and that will help inform your questions as well. So that is one big piece of it. A second is to, if you're able and you think that the customer would appreciate it, sending some of the questions ahead of time so they can start to prep and understand kind of, okay, this is going to guide the conversation, but maybe not be, all encompassing of everything we talk about.
I have an interesting question just popped in. How do you handle it when you have customers that will gladly share their story, but only if they remain anonymous or unnamed?
Oh, that's a good one. And that's okay. A lot of customers do that, especially in this age of AI right now. There are a lot of AI tools that can't, get logos because they can't get logos on the website because those companies don't want people to like shame them for using AI at the moment, right? So I think that's okay. I think a lot of what you might have to do is kind of describe the company without saying who they are, right? A major airline in the United States, an enormous grocery chain, a B2B tech communications platform in the marketing space, whatever the case may be. But be very descriptive in the way that you're trying to kind of build that, so that, okay, I can come as a similar company or a similar size company, right? Give away details that will help someone understand if it's a good comparison point or not.
Absolutely. All right, over to the next one. Have you ever used influencers to distribute case studies?
Ooh,
That was
I have never
mine.
seen one. And
Because
that's
I mean,
gonna,
the next session is going to be a panel about B2B influencers. And I was
yeah.
wondering, because I don't know if you've noticed, there was this whole banter about somebody posting about a certain company and then the CMO. So I'm wondering, in this world, how do we leverage or not leverage influencers?
Man, that's so interesting. I have not personally done that. Um, it's funny. I think that might require a bit of like upfront work, almost like a kind of a sponsored post type deal where, hey, I know maybe this customer has someone who has a LinkedIn following, and we're going to get a lot more reach if they're able to talk about us than if we post it on our own company page. So uh, interesting, potentially smart move if you can find the right person to do that for you.
All
Great
right,
question.
we have 2 more minutes. So I'm going to try to get
Okay.
maybe one or two more questions in. Okay, I am going to pick an easy, interesting question. Okay, this was a question I know you touched upon it briefly, but what if you have customers that you want to record video testimonials or video content with, and they're not really tech savvy, or they have a bad camera and they're not on Zoom? So how can you really empower them to help you create a good quality video content?
Absolutely. Um, you can send them some tips and tricks beforehand, right? Like make sure your lighting's great, kind of help them do that. You might even want to get on 10 minutes beforehand and kind of help them set that up. Hey, art direct the background a little bit if you need to or want to. But, there are some folks who just are not comfortable on camera, but willing to give you a great sound bite. For me, like, that is totally great, and I will use a Descript audiogram all day long, if it comes out of my customer's mouth. There's some really interesting tools out there now that, will help you do things like that, create interesting visuals to go with the audio. And so don't shy away from that just because the customer is, camera shy. Capture that content. There's lots of ways you can use it.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry, everybody. I know there are so many more questions, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Jess to answer them, and then we're going to send it to you in the follow-up email that will come after the event. Jess, thank you so much. Once again, as always, this was amazing, and you have been fantastic.
Thank you so much, Pragya, and thank you for dealing with the sound issues, everyone.
Yeah, we were breaking the internet over here. All right, everybody, we're going to have a very interesting session on B2B influencers up next. So see you there, and bye bye.